everyone. My name is Heather Newman, and I am lead and principal program manager for the Power Platform and Dynamics 365 Community Success Team. I could not be more excited to be back here at DynamicsCon to speak with you again. Thank you so much to our amazing organizers for asking me to be here, and also to all of you who are taking time out of your busy schedules to get together and build community. So thank you so much. So what are we going to talk about today? Today, I'm going to bring you a presentation that is called Community, Culture, and Belonging in the Mix, something I've been thinking a lot about. And I'm very passionate about talking about community with my role at Microsoft, and also having been a community member in technology for about 20 years, starting out in SharePoint back in 2001 when SharePoint was called Tahoe. A little bit about me. I blog up on medium.com. My moniker in the world is Heather Newman. I also obviously MS Power Plat and also Dynamics as well. If you want to connect with me, I always put these QR codes up in my presentations, and I see it kind of as a best practice for virtual events and in-person events as well. But if you have a LinkedIn app on your phone, you can take it out and you can go to the scan area on that LinkedIn app, and it works on both iOS and Android, and you can scan that QR code. And then what will happen is that you and I will now be connected on LinkedIn. So it's a great way to, build your network and also get connected with folks. I love talking to people on LinkedIn, so feel free to connect with me here, and also drop me a line. I love hearing feedback about how we're doing as far as our community goes. If people are looking for connections into our product teams, all that sort of thing, I'm always happy to have those conversations, career chats, all of that good stuff. Definitely connect with me on LinkedIn, and we'll get to it. I currently live in Marina del Rey, California, in Los Angeles. And so I lived in Seattle for about 10 years, close to Redmond. I went to school at the University of Washington. I also lived in Sebastopol in Sonoma County wine country for a while. And then I also lived in Hawaii for a moment, in Maui. But I am from the Mitten State, from Michigan. I was born over here in Muskegon. My parents are from Bay City and Elma. And then I did my formative years in Chicago, Illinois, Wheaton Central High School, which is no longer there. It's now a Maggiano's grocery store, and then some formative years in Indiana. So I've been all over the United States, and also I've done a lot of extensive traveling all over the world. So I've been to many, many countries and got to meet so many of you in person over the years. And I'm excited that, at some point we'll be able to hopefully do that again. So we do that in-person hellos as well as continuing with our hybrid and our virtual events. I celebrated 20 years in and around Microsoft. I have been a Microsoft MVP on the Office Apps and Services side. I was a vendor for a long time. I've run my own businesses, marketing consultancy. I've had a software company. So I pretty much, I think, worn every hat that you could wear in and around Microsoft. And I've had a great ride, and I'm so happy to be in this role. I say all the time that I have the best job ever. And so I'm excited, again, to connect with you and talk with you a little bit about culture and community. So I'm going to get into it. Let's see. So, every company is a digital company. I think, as you can see today, customers and community, we're experiencing this era of, rapid change, and probably the greatest transformation structurally in our economy in a generation. I think moving forward in, the next decades, technology is going to have that profound implication for every aspect of business, including, customer experiences to operational processes, and then just the very nature of products and services. So, every company really must be a technology company. Since I've last talked to you last year in our fireside chat that I have with Jonathan, I've met with so many customers and community members across, multiple industries and, different levels from enterprise to SMB, and all of us, every person here, we're grappling with, digital challenges, and we're also, I feel like we're always innovating and looking to really stretch the boundaries of what's possible. So, the ability to innovate from, all the way from the cloud to the edge, and really having the flexibility to do it on your terms is something that is very important to Microsoft in our products and solutions that we're putting out into the world, that you are all building awesome things in and around and on. So, given the trends with all of these things, we really want to do more to help organizations and industries, build that digital capacity more easily and more comprehensive. So our priority is really fostering innovation through our Microsoft Cloud and our partner ecosystem. And where I focus and focus on my team is in the Power Platform. As you know, our no code, low code, and code first platform, where we have Power BI, where we're dealing with our data, being able to analyze it, pull it up in beautiful dashboards, working with Power Apps, where we're, application development is just going off the charts over the last few years. Power Automate, which I use every day to automate business processes for my own team, that workflow automation where, you're getting information, you're sending off a notification, it's clicking off something else. It is just so powerful. I love Power Automate. And then Power Virtual Agents, really looking at how we're using intelligent virtual agents and bots to both answer questions to customers and our internal members as well. So the other piece that I concentrate on is Dynamics 365. And so we have folks on my team who all, so just to explain my team a smidge, is that we have folks that are senior program managers for the community. And so each person on my team looks after a community. So Kelly Kay looks after Power BI. I have Anna Chu, who's looking after Power Automate, Power Virtual Agents, Pedro Sacramento, who is looking after Dynamics 365. I will be announcing soon a new Power Apps person on the team. And then I lead across all of them. And so with Dynamics 365, as you can see there, there's a lot of apps. It's not just, it is one big platform, but also there's a lot of applications inside. And so we're very busy a lot of the times with Dynamics 365. And that comes from the really grand history of Dynamics 365 over the years, coming into Dynamics 365, helping out with, finance and operations, with HR, with sales, with customer insights. So lots of applications that are helping people run their businesses, definitely in the front end and the back end with sales and marketing as well. So when we talk about community and what we're looking at, what Microsoft is bringing to the table in the business applications area or digital transformation area, this is where my team has its most focus. And I get really excited about hearing all the great things that you, the community, are doing with our products. And so we definitely are looking to tell those stories and help spotlight all of those good things. And we do that through our community platform. So a couple things that are going on that you should probably know about, and you probably already know, is that the release wave plan is live. It's what's going on from April through September 2022. So that's coming up here, and what is coming into this release wave that comes out. And those are some links that you can check out there. We do aka.ms links. Those are our short links. That's our link shortener. So Power Platform Wave 1 release plan and Dynamics 365 Wave 1 release plan, or something to maybe jot down as you're sitting there listening. Some recent news and cool stuff that I wanted to point out. Power Apps 2022 has updates for model-driven apps. There's a ton of updates in that area of the business. It's very exciting. Also, Power Apps portals becoming mobile apps. And then just the general availability of code components for portals themselves. And then Dataverse has got auditing features, super granular, very exciting. So, these are pages and pages of material. And so I'm just pointing out a few things there, but definitely make sure that you bookmark those pages for when they come out, because they're great. They are great reading, and there's a lot of information there for you. So a few things about what's new and coming out from our team. So community is only really as healthy as the health of the community that runs it. And a team is only as healthy as the health of the individuals on the team. And people are like, oh, okay, that's a lot to swallow. Actually, to me, healthy workplace is hugely important, and how we speak to each other, how we treat each other. I think when we're in the middle of so many things that we've been in the middle of, both for the last few years and right in this moment, how we treat each other is utmost important, that we are one community across technology and one community across the world, really. So I feel like if we are all taking a moment to propone the health of how we interact with each other, how we share and all of that, it makes the community on the whole healthier, and just each of us as individuals who are dealing with whatever we happen to be dealing with, to feel more supported and to more like we belong. So I think, again, we learn as we go. And when I say we, I mean all of us. We are not fixed in our approach, and we will gradually adjust to new normal. I left that phrase in there, new normal. I sometimes I don't like it. And then I'm like, well, what else do you say? I think we're in the middle of a lot of those, everybody's saying, the great reset, the great realization, all of those things, the great R's, as it will. And I think that's true. And I think, a friend of mine, one of my mentors, Joel Frauenheim, who is awesome, who works at Microsoft, I've known him forever. He said to me, Heather, he was like, I was talking to him about something, and he was like, you know what? Just remember, you're allowed to be smarter tomorrow. Every day, you're allowed to be smarter. You're allowed to learn something. You're allowed to take something in and change your mind or alter what you've said in the past. That is allowed. That is allowed for every one of us. We're allowed to be smarter tomorrow, to take in new information, process it, maybe make a different decision or approach something in a different way. And that's really important, I think, when we're talking about community and, frankly, our own well-being. A little bit about our community. Very exciting. We have a thriving community. Lots of members of the Power Platform communities across the globe. Over 500 independent user groups have come onto the experience that Microsoft has put out, which I know many of you have been working on and with, and also have been looking at to see if you want to participate in that arena, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. Lots of dashboard and app in a day events, so a day long where you learn how to create a dashboard or create an app. Those are really terrific events. We've had so many folks come through them. And then ideas. Ideas are where you put in, you're like, I would really wish that Power Apps would do X. And you go to the ideas site, you put that in, and then it's voted on by your peers. And then those ideas are looked at and triaged by the product teams. And hopefully those are getting into the release waves and the products as we go along. So this is, again, the communities that we deal with. If you want to go check out the community, you can go to aka.ms/community rocks. That is also a hashtag that we use a lot because community does rock, I believe, and we all play in the same symphony together, the same orchestra together. And I think it's really exciting to have such a vibrant community for Microsoft, that's stemmed from, decades ago to today. Very excited about how Power Platform and Dynamics 365, are continuing. We're connecting all the time with other folks who run community at Microsoft. There's a lot of us, actually. There's a lot of people who have the word community in their what we call commitments, and what's on our list for impact for the year. So it's very exciting that we're continuing to connect the dots with each other and thinking about how we build our technology and how we bring out tools and how we bring out processes and challenges and the fun to community as well. And so there's been a big grand push internally with all of us of how we work together better and continue to break down silos that just, that happen in really large companies, right? Maybe you might see yourself in here. It's really, it is about business, of course, but the impact I think that Power Platform and Dynamics 365 have really had on everyone. What's so cool about low code, no code to me is that, people from around the world with no background in technology have really, been able to lean in and learn, Power Platform and how it can be a positive impact to drive career shifts and work and just community connection in everybody's lives and careers. And I think it's because of the community. Folks that are MVPs, Microsoft Most Valuable Professionals, user group leaders, user group members who are in our forums every day answering questions, user group leaders who are leading user groups, all of you who are leaders in some way, and everybody on this call is a leader to somebody in their lives, by the way, but really like helping lead a lot of the conversations. You inspire other folks, right? And all of you who are members, folks who are actually members of the community, and those of you who just dip in and maybe lurk and don't actually join, but you get a lot out of it. Like it's all symbiotic. It takes all of us for all of these things to continue to grow and get better, and for us to feel like we belong to something greater than ourselves. So I just want to say a big thank you to those of you who are contributing all the time, making videos, writing blog posts, active on Twitter. You've created, a channel over here on a certain technology to build community. You started a space, all of that stuff. Community happens everywhere. Community doesn't just happen on one Microsoft platform. I'm very aware of that. And so I want to say that embracing, all the beautiful places where you're doing things and putting stuff is super important. So it's exciting to see, and just a big thank you to everybody. The other thing to me, this is where I sit. this is my wreath. I love a wreath. I'm from the Midwest, and you always have a wreath on the door. My mom always had one, depending on the season. And so I wanted to create a wreath for our community engagement. And to me, engagement is at the heart of the community. As you can see, our online community is part of the wreath, but it's not the heart, because engagement in all the different ways we're allowed to do that with you, and we help Microsoft hopefully is supporting you in your efforts and listening to you in your efforts. Those two things are what we're here to do. We're here to listen, we're here to support. And that's what I get out of bed to do every morning. Spreading joy and connecting people is my why personally as well, but definitely that support and listening are a huge part of my job and my team's job. And frankly, everybody at Microsoft. So other things in the wreath, we've got how does community show up in our products? How are we supporting user groups? How are we working on in-person and virtual events? Eventually, that we'll get back to. What are the recognition programs for folks like MVPs, super users, champions, insiders, user group leaders? What kind of adoption content are we putting together? What cookbooks, galleries, that sort of thing. What is the impact of being on a learning journey, right, with Microsoft, and then finding yourself then in the community and then continuing that learning journey? Really looking at holistically from sort of, I guess you want to say, the top of the funnel down into when somebody, say, buys a product, it's what does that journey look like? And are we, as Microsoft, really giving you the tools that you need at every level to get a career switch or solve a problem inside your job and all of that. So we're definitely really doing a lot of thinking around that. And then lastly, just quality, awesome content, right? Blogs, social media, videos, YouTube. I'm really proud of the work that our team has been doing implementing this in this last year of doing community connection videos. And so those are usually 2 or 3 minute videos that are highlighting what's going on with somebody in the community, something that they built or an org that they're running, or a nonprofit or some cool solution. Anybody on this session who is listening, you can work with us and you can have a community connections video. So the folks that are helping me right now record this on my team, so Daniel and Dwayne, they do a lot of work with interviewing folks and creating these wonderful videos and everything. So definitely you can reach out to us. It's again another aka.ms link, and it's aka.ms community connections, and you can absolutely sign up. And if not, definitely hit me up on Twitter on DM. I'm at Heather Newman, and you can ping me there and I'll connect you with our team. Ooh, they just put that AKMS link down at the bottom. Yes. The other thing, culture really is the new currency, I believe. I think it's super important that we understand culture is so important. And, Satya Nadella has so many wonderful quotes about this. Also, his book, Hit Refresh. He's such a thoughtful man and human. And I really, really love what he has done with Microsoft, having been around for 20 years and watching this company evolve. And I really do think, when people can come into Microsoft or any company, frankly, and do their best work, it's also, you want to feel that the people that are closest to you, your managers, the people who are your peers, are going to support you in coming to work every day with your best self, your most authentic self, and that you can be who you are, come as you are, and be a part of everything that's going on in a really inclusive and healthy workplace culture way. I just dropped a lot of buzzwords, I know, but I truly do believe this with my heart. I think also everybody who is a manager, managers are really there delivering success for their teams and the companies by empowering, having some accountability, because that's really important. We all really do like to own something. We like to say, I did that, Hopefully you're saying, I did that, and then you're sharing those best practices with others so that they can build on top of the good work you've done, and that you're doing things in a collaborative way, not in a silo. And a lot of this stems from managers being able to model, coach, and care. This is a huge thing inside of Microsoft where we talk to managers. I went through the training myself. It's fantastic about, modeling behavior. It's like how you act, people follow suit, right? So how you come across in meetings, how you build your schedule, whether you work late at night, past business hours, and send people emails, or on the weekends. Coaching is how you coach people, is how you help them get what they need, the tools that they need, the training they need. Saying to someone, hey, maybe think about saying it this way, or let's put some talking points together, all that kind of stuff. And caring. In a moment where things are happening in the world or happening with folks personally, it is so important to take a moment and acknowledge. And you don't necessarily have to point out that one person, of course, because sometimes things are private. But I think being able to say, hey, everybody, you never know what's behind somebody's smiling eyes. Or let's take a moment. Things are going on. Anybody want to talk about it? And you can do that on an individual basis. You can do that on a group basis. You can open up open office hours for people to drop in on you. So to me, the role of the manager definitely is about empowering people, giving folks things that they can be proud of to do, and then that model coach care. This is not my favorite slide at all. I don't like it, but I talk about it because there is reality to toxic workplace, and also something that I call FBM, which is fear-based management. And I have been talking about this for a long time. And I think that this is some of that stuff when I was talking about culture, being the new currency, and how important it is about how we treat each other and how we work together. It's really, there's no time for jerks. Some of that mentality, and I don't even really have to get into it, but even Charles Lamanna, who is our, corporate vice president for Power Platform, that's something that's really important to him and that he talks about. It is about how we treat each other, and also having the tools in order to deal with a toxic workplace. Some people are like, well, Heather, that's great that you talk about this, but like, what are the tools? Like, what do I do? And so I think a couple of things regarding that is that, you need to talk to your manager. If it's your manager you're having trouble with, then, there are things in place usually for, human resources and other groups that you can talk to. And also reach out for people for guidance. Reach out to other people. Reach out to me, frankly. I'm not a lawyer, although sometimes I play one on TV, and I'm not a certified coach and like all of that stuff. But I do think it's important for us to have safe spaces to talk about these things, and for us to really hold ourselves accountable and other people accountable for this kind of behavior. And I think that it's really important. I think, again, being a part of that solution can be hard sometimes, and saying, that's not right, or please don't speak to me that way, or please don't speak to that person that way, or those things are not easy to do. It takes energy and time, and it's not always popular, and it always, you worry about retribution, backlash, and all those sorts of things. But the thing is that what I think is important is that, it's empowering to make a stand on certain things. And also, we only get one life, and so I don't think letting anybody treat you bad is what we should be doing. So I think that this is a continued conversation that I'm having with lots of folks, and I'm happy to have it with others as well. But I think some of the ways we combat these sorts of things, toxicity and fear-based management, the opposite of fear-based management, FBM, is TBM, trust-based management, that we all trust each other to come to the table with openness, wholeheartedness, benefits of the doubt, and support of each other, and understanding that people get stressed sometimes, and that that comes out, but from the top, if you're always worried about making a mistake, or that you're going to get yelled at, or that, like most of this stuff that we're doing is, working on software, which some of it does work on saving people's lives, of course, and is very important. But on a day-to-day basis, really about really supporting each other is super, super important. And a lot of the ways that we do that is this next slide about storytelling, or sharing story, as they say in some cultures. It's really about how we come at it with our narratives, and how I always say, when I've got my marketing hat on, it's about, are we entertaining and educating at the same time? That usually goes over better sometimes than just, the education piece. But talking about when we're having trouble, having issues, where we struggle. And you see a lot of people being super wholehearted and vulnerable, as Brene Brown says. And if you haven't had a chance to dip into Brene Brown's work, she's a professor out of Texas who has studied shame, written all these books on wholeheartedness and vulnerability. A term that I love of hers that sort of relates to all of this is like, let's be open to rumble. Like rumble, and meaning that, you know, we all say we can have a safe space and have uncomfortable conversations with each other, and that's something that I think is huge. And it's not stuff we often talk about at work or even in personally, right? Of being able to say, I have a thing that I want to talk to you about. I want to rumble. I want to do this. It's a safe space, and knowing that we're going to come into it. Potentially having an uncomfortable conversation. And storytelling and sharing stories is a way that when we talk about that, we basically, you know, someone else goes, oh my goodness, I relate to that. And so you don't feel so alone. And it's that belonging piece in community that's so important. There's a couple of places at Microsoft. I've been involved in a lot of humans in IT, humans in tech work over the years. Again, something that's very important to me. And Humans of IT, aka.ms, Humans of IT, is a place on one of our partner communities, which is the Microsoft Tech community, where a lot of like Teams and SharePoint and Office shows up. There is a great section there, if you don't belong to that already, that's called Humans of IT, where you can share a story and where it's all about people talking about how they got started in tech, things that they've worked through, triumphs, celebrations. It's all really great. Take a moment to check out. Getting back into that team culture. Kara Wanagatimu, who is one of my counterpart over on the Teams engineering team for the customer advocacy group. You probably see her and I speak a lot together and have in the past if you haven't, but she's fantastic. And we partner a lot in something we call the Microsoft Community Council, something I started about a year ago when I started my role back here at Microsoft, because I was like, well, how does everybody else do this? I know how I do it from the outside, you know, of Microsoft, and how do folks run things internally? So I'll tell you, we're about 130 strong now internally, where we meet once a month and we talk about community. We talk about, you know, how are we measured? What are the programs you have? How do you do badges? Like all that kind of stuff. And one of the things that Caruana has always come to the table with was a hashtag humans first, of how can we really work on culture and have that humans first mentality. And this is a slide that's great to potentially use about, you know, hey, let's remember we need to be opening and welcoming. We're embracing diversity, thought, and style. What's our bias for action? And these are all ways that you can open up conversations, especially when you're doing something maybe like a team agreement. That's something that's come into the vernacular. And what that means is, you know, maybe you're putting things up like creating, you know, an online lounge. We're still working from home for the most part. We're getting open. Hybrid is happening. There's, you know, offices opening up. The world is ever changing and ebbing and flowing, right? So one of the things as far as, you know, humans first and culture is, you know, how do we kind of get back to connecting a little bit more instead of these, you know, screens that we're on, right? And I just gave you all a high five, by the way. But, you know, setting a theme day, doing a hydration challenge, like all of that stuff, starting meetings certain ways, right? Those are all things that are really important with that hashtag humans first. And also thinking about, you know, I love the hashtag always learning. That goes back to that I'm going to be smarter tomorrow comment from Joel. I think that, you know, we're managing change during challenging times. We're always managing change during all the times, right? So I think, you know, thinking about what are some steps we can take for ourselves, but personally and also in our businesses is, you know, are we taking care of ourselves? That's really important. And that's also thinking about how you show up as a manager as well. If you're not taking care of yourself, how do you expect your team to take care of themselves, right? That's really important. Embracing change, knowing that things are going to be, you know, ambiguous, a lot of that, and honoring your processes. If you have put processes into place, really honor them and work towards having some processes, right? Thinking about that team morale. How can you connect with your team? You know, dress up day, hydration. You know, everybody wears a hat. You know, turn on the cameras if people feel so moved. You know, and thinking about, you know, those best practices. I have a slide on that here in a sec. And then also career development. Right now, people, they've called it the Great Resignation or the Great Redo. Things are changing about how people work, where they work, how they want to work. And so are you thinking about developing your own career? And also, are you leaning on your managers to make sure that that's part of it? I believe, people are in jobs for certain amounts of time. It is definitely part of Microsoft's thinking of like, as a manager, I need to be guiding the people who are on my team, who of course I don't want them to leave, but what is their next career move? There should be a next career move, right? And that professional journey is super important. And then also I think community participation, by being a part of the community, by getting to know people, that's where you have those moments when you need to switch a career or you need to do something because of whatever various and sundry reason, and you have a network that you can talk to about it, that you can post up about what you're looking for. You can use LinkedIn, you can use Twitter, you can use a community platform to talk about those sorts of things. I think this is all about meeting setup. I am a big fan of having an agenda in the meeting request, and or even potentially, now this is very Microsoft-y, but having slides, a link to them in there. We've started a few things on the team over the last year. We start 30 minutes on the 05, and we start 60-minute meetings on the 10. I had to do this because my job spans so many things horizontally. I am in a lot of meetings. And so I needed the school passing period in between, literally, to have a minute, because I'm pretty good at context switching. But even I'm like, okay, where am I going next? What am I doing? And who am I talking to, right? And maybe I need some more water, right? So how about this? Hydration break. I hope you all took one too. Okay, so I find that you can kind of catch up in the front of a meeting, but usually not on the end. Usually you go over. So that's why I like to put this starter stop on the front. Also, having recordings is really important. You can, especially using Microsoft Teams, you can have captions. I'm a big fan of a note taker and having that note taker not be the person presenting. And also then linking to notes and decks in the body of a meeting request. You're like, oh my gosh, Heather, that sounds like a lot. Yeah, maybe it is. But also just think about the time you save doing some of these things. And it's like anything else. It's like repetition is the mother of skill, right? I'm not exactly sure who said that, but I think that's true, right? And I come from a theater background. Oh, I didn't say that. I was a theater major at the University of Washington. And so I am jazz hands every day, when I come to things. And how I come to things is through empathy. Theater is all about empathy. If I can put on somebody else's shoes and present their life to you, you as an audience member can then have empathy to them and understand them better, which means you understand the world better. That is the power. I would almost yelled that. That is the power of live theater. That's also the power of story. And that's also the power of community, right? If we can have empathy towards each other, we're also going to come at everything in a better way. So what I mean by setting up these meetings well is that I think that it's kind of a courtesy in a way. Instead of flying into the meeting and jumping right in and not being organized necessarily, think about the time that is wasted of hunting for something or trying to figure out what somebody's talking about. A little bit of prep work usually goes a long way. I also really like starting with ground rules. Feel free to use the chat, raise your hands. How about this? Not everybody is at the same skill set you are. I know, believe it or not. Some people are really well versed in Excel or PowerPoint or Power BI or Teams or whatever, but not everybody is at the same level. Some people are new. Some people have never been on a meeting before. So just taking, again, 2 seconds to be like, hey, there's these great things at the top of Teams. You can raise your hands, you can clap, you can do all of that. Make sure we let each other speak, raise your hand. Kind of all of those things. Just a quick explanation at the beginning of meetings really, really helps everybody. And it's super inclusive to all the folks, as well as folks that we have tons of folks who English is a second language, right? So sometimes people are going so fast and also doing things you're like, oh my goodness, we need to make sure that we can include everybody and really explain at the beginning what something is about and how we're going to run our stuff. Setting the tone, smile, gratitude, thanking everybody for being there, really asking how folks are doing. This is the piece of vulnerability and wholeheartedness that comes into it. And that to me is tone, right? If you want to have folks turn on their cameras and wave hello, some people are never going to turn on their camera, and that is absolutely fine. I do find that sometimes to start a meeting with a little wave and some jazz hands really does help kind of connect people, and then turn them off so that they can listen to the presentation or what's going on. Learning about how to spotlight somebody in a meeting. How about this? Rehearsal. I am a theater major as well. You know what I love? Rehearsal. And so if you are going to have to run a meeting, rehearse it with somebody on your team. Just say, hey, I want to make sure this goes right. Try out PowerPoint Live. Mess around with the different things. Make sure you know how it all kind of works. And then you're going to be more confident when you're running a meeting or when you're presenting. Yeah. And also have a buddy, right? Make sure there's somebody there to support you. I want to say thank you for being so good to each other. I think for me, the through line here is, how our culture and community, how we treat each other, setting up meetings well, being cognizant of a hashtag humans first way, a hashtag always learning of how we continue to be smarter tomorrow, and how all of you help each other all the time, whatever platform it is that you happen to be on. I see it everywhere. I see how kind and compassionate and how everybody is just always super excited and lean into each other. And I think for me, that through line of, culture and community and belonging is something that I have loved about being in and around the Microsoft community as long as I have. I have dear, dear friends that I have known for 20 years. And then I have new friends that I've just met in the last 2 years working in Power Platform and Dynamics 365. And it's just, I feel so lucky to and to be in the role that I'm in, doing what I get to do. And I'm going to celebrate and shout out a couple of groups here that are fantastic. A couple of items that we have: Power Addicts coming up March 15th. Great group of folks who have put together a hangout once a month. You can go check that out. I know that they also just started a Twitter community as well. So I go ahead and ask about that on Twitter, and happy to connect you there. But there's a lot of really great things going on with that group of folks. We also have a Power Apps, which is going to turn into a Power Platform community call coming up in March. I'm going to watch out for Twitter and LinkedIn. I'm going to post about that next one coming up. I believe it's March the 16th at 8 a.m. Pacific is that call. So I'll put that out in the world as well. Also, someone who I partner with and our team partners with all the time is April Dunham. She's amazing. She was part of the community and she's been working at Microsoft now on the Cloud Advocate team. She was also recruited by the person who brought me into Donna Sakar. Shout out to Donna, who also does a lot of voluntelling and is a huge advocate for Power Platform. And she's now running part of the show over in our accessibility team. But April has a video, has a show up on YouTube that's awesome. And she's also always looking for guests. So aka.ms low code revolution guest. And then you can sign up to listen and check out the show and on Low Code Revolution up there. So new episodes coming monthly for that. And then also we have the Power BI community show, and that is Kelly Kay on my team is hosting that. That is a live show. We had the first one on February 14th. Thank you to those of you who were our guests and our first timers on that. But you can check out the past episodes and the upcoming episodes at aka.ms Power BI show. Y'all, to me, this is all about always bringing the technical and the humanity together, right? It's a symbiotic, awesome thing that we do of, getting to work in technology every day and then bringing our hearts to it, our humanity to it. And that's what I am working on in the world most days, and thinking about how I can do it better, how I can bring more to the table for all of you in the community. And really appreciate, again, everybody's efforts that you're working through every day on either what it is you're going through, the things that we're all going through in the world, and what the time and energy and good health are things we don't often get back, right? We don't get time back and good health. And so the what you choose to do with your time and your energy is important. And so just thank you so much for everything you do. I'm going to leave us with a quote from Sonia Cuff, who is another awesome cloud advocate, good friend. Some hashtags that I like, and that, I believe this, that, Microsoft isn't making the magic happen. All of you make it happen. You make it happen, using the technologies we provide, but then also innovating on top of, all the things and creating your own solutions and everything. And so it's really awesome to see so many possibilities and capabilities come to life. I invite you all to please be a part of the community if you're not. Please, happy to have you sign up on our community platform, aka.ms/community rocks. I know that so many of you are involved with DynamicsCon and all the awesome programs that they have, that they are putting out all year long. And so they do such a good job. And, so thank you so much again for having me here today. And I look forward to seeing you in all the different communities around. And again, please, I'm at Heather Newman on Twitter. You can always feel free to get to me that way. I'm also heather.newman@microsoft.com. Feel free to send me an email, say hello. Always happy to hear from folks. And let's continue with that look at culture and belonging and how we do that in our communities in the mix. Hello, Denise. Hello. How are you?
Doing great. Thank you so much for that presentation. I learned so much. I would also like to say that I am a huge Brene Brown fan. I have listened to her books over and over again. My favorite one is Rising Strong, so we should tag her in something. But you had such great insights, and we just appreciate you sharing and everything that you talked about in the session, and also all of the responses that you've been giving to the chat in the chat. At this time, I'm going to give folks a few minutes to think about their questions and have them come through so that we can visit about those. But is there anything else that you would like to add that's come to mind since you did the session?
Goodness, it's so interesting always watching yourself too. I was like, oh, that's so funny. And I was like, oh, those 2 calls happened today. So everybody who wants to join Power Addicts or the Power Apps community calls, the next ones are coming in April. And I put that in the chat too, so you can find where to get those as well. That was funny. I was like, it's so funny to watch yourself. But it's, I really, I stand behind so much of, connective tissue between all of us, and building the belonging and how we treat each other is just so important. Everybody, with what's going on in the world at any given time, it's just important about how we show up. And so to me, that's just continues to be top of mind for me always. It's what kind of impact can you make in the world day to day with every choice and decision you make, and then also how can you impact the lives of others. And I think that's, for me, that's what community is all about. So, and that's what you're doing here at with DynamicsCon, sharing all this great information with everybody. So
yes, I would absolutely agree. I feel like it really comes down to leading your life with grace and kindness for everybody. Because just like you said, you never know what your cashier at the grocery store, what kind of day they started with. And you could be that person that gives them a sense of joy. And it's great. It's really, really great. Your message is very powerful. So I'm still watching for some questions to come through.
Oh, here we go.
We do have a question. Liz would like to know, any thoughts on the best way to find and identify a great mentor?
My goodness, that's a great question, Liz. I think it's there's a couple of things. One, I think that it's important to I actually get most of my news and everything from Twitter, because I like that, and that's that may be the New York Times, I guess, but I always, and that's how, when I haven't been doing my Mavens Do It Better podcast for a while because I've been so busy, but where a lot of the guests would come from were people that I saw doing something online, and I'd be like, oh, that's so interesting. I want to know more about that, or I want to highlight that because I think what someone is doing is super cool, right? So I feel like when you're on these platforms like LinkedIn or Twitter or other places, and you see people speak at conferences like this, or somebody catches your eye, I feel like people are like, oh, I can't, reach out to them. And I think that's No, you should. I actually spoke with a woman, Latifa Bello, the other day. I saw her on Twitter. She was talking about some stuff, and I reached out to her. I said, hey, I said, I see you're doing some cool things. You want to have a 20-minute chat? And she was like, oh my goodness. And she's a student at the University of Lagos in Nigeria, and we had a talk about what she was doing with Power Platform, right? So I think to identify a mentor is who excites you, who has a career that you're like, that's what I want to do with my life, or somebody that is that you've met before in the past or you've seen speak. Most people are super approachable, first of all, and I think there's only so much time, like we talked about in the session, in the day and in the world and stuff, but most people will take time, especially for a one-time chat for sure, and maybe a catch up later. But also, if you're working for a company or a business, a lot of times they'll have mentorship programs where people have signed up to be a mentor or a mentee. And so definitely, make sure, that whether or not that program exists. And also there's a lot of different, service organizations that have that kind of thing as well. So, there's definitely looking into, through Humans of IT at Microsoft, what are the programming and mentoring circles that are available. That's a good search. Mentoring circles is something good to search on as well. But so I think there's sort of like that aspirational mentor, if you will, of someone that you're like, gosh, could I really talk to them? I do it too. There's people that I'm like, that person is amazing. I'm going to go see if they'll talk to me, and usually people, it may take a bit, or you have to, work through their schedule, but a lot of times people say yes. So, and I think mentorship isn't necessarily about somebody with a big grand title. Mentorship is about could even be someone who's maybe just in a different role or a management position. I have mentors that that I've worked with forever that have become friends as well, that were my clients, because I was a consultant for forever, right? And so some of my greatest mentors today are still clients that I had that I still talk to. I literally 2 weekends ago, I called up 3 of my mentors because I had a question for them about some business stuff that I was like, I just need to run this by you. And we haven't talked because of COVID and other things in probably a year and a half. And I just picked up, I texted them and I said, hey, you got 15 minutes for me, on the weekend or whatever. And they're like, yeah, of course, so that's that. And there was a great question that somebody had asked earlier about, like, how do you network and how do you, I really truly think really working hard to develop deep relationships with people is super important. And it's not that difficult to do. I think it's about keeping up with people, and checking in and remembering. And I put everything on my calendar. I have an alarm on my calendar that says call Aunt Mary, my 83-year-old aunt that lives in Michigan, and it pops up on Sundays. I don't always do it, but it's there to remind me to do that. She likes to talk on the phone for like 10 minutes and talk about the Tigers playing baseball or whatever. But like, you know what I mean? But like, to me, that works for me. And it reminds me to do certain things. So, use the trickery of alarms and, reminders in your calendar and all of that stuff. A 10-minute LinkedIn connection moment weekly on Fridays. Those things, it compounds over time, So, yeah. I'm looking in the chat too.
Excellent. Yes, we've got some additional Brene Brown fans. That's wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely.
I see her all over the place. Great resources. Let's see.
How funny. Yeah. Molly, having a meeting buddy is really important, I think, too. Like, some people like come into these sessions too, and you don't have, I have a fabulous team of folks, a few of them who are on the chat and who are, part of this and helped, film the session and all of that. I think it's even in a regular old meeting on a regular old day, it's really good to, I think, have people with you, because you can definitely, someone else can take notes, someone else can help with the chat, especially if you're presenting too, and you're trying to really be focused and mindful, remember what the point you're trying to get across, especially if you're trying to land something. It's just so important to have that there. And people always ask me, like, when you're, giving a session, I've had it before where, if you've never done speaking and you want to get into speaking, people are like, somebody's going to ask me a question, I'm not going to know the answer. Yes, that is going to happen. Nobody knows everything. It just, it's like, and here's the thing. Whenever that happened to me, when I was like, I don't know the answer to that, somebody asked me something, you know what I do? One, I'd say to the audience, hey, you know what? I'm not sure about the answer to this. I can go find out, but does anybody in the audience know? And 9 times out of 10, somebody did know, and they would help, So it's about standing firm in the fact that, like, if you're speaking, practice rehearsal is always good, but people are rooting for you, right? Denise, like, you feel that, right? You feel that people they want you to do well. They're
Yes.
not like, oh, I'm eating the popcorn, I'm waiting for them to mess up, like that's not how most people are, right? I mean, you're just like, right? You're like, yeah, get it, or I love what they're saying or whatever. And, I don't know. So I think that's really important as well. So it's kind of funny like that, but yep. Let's see.
That is so true. I will definitely say that I've been with this community now just over 2 months, and the feelings from everyone that I have encountered throughout the process of preparing for DynamicsCon has been unbelievable, and so supportive and kind and grace filled if I've made a mistake. And so it really truly gives you that sense of cold chills and warm fuzzies all at the same time.
Yeah, for sure. I think, I had an interview earlier today, right before I jumped on, and, there was a dog barking, and, I've got animals around, and, and it's sort of one of those things where that veil between us of like what I mean? Like, decorum is great, and being professional and all of that kind of stuff. But I think that because of COVID, because we've all gone through this together, this, universal moment of, what, we're human beings, and there's there's stuff going on over there in the other room that is life, right? That is, and so I think the word grace, and I like the way you put that, like the gracefulness of us dealing with each other and helping each other a little bit more, I think, has been really amazing. And Liz, you're saying here that I do feel like work and personal definitely have merged, because, you're seeing my real office. This is where I sit most days. You're getting to see all the stuff that's on my bookshelf. You get to see this funny curtain that I hung in here. So you're getting a glimpse into people's lives that you didn't get before, right? You don't get the just the office of my work persona kind of thing. So I definitely feel like, mentoring and, dealing with toxic people and mentorships and all of that, it does sort of converge work and personal a bit more than I think it has been in the past. And it's also made it so that people are making different decisions about, kind of like I talked about, where they're going to work and how they're going to work and where they're going to live and all of those things. And, people are making big decisions about their lives like that right now, and people who are dealing with kind of all of the things that are happening in the world. Like, there's a lot of people who are upended, and businesses have failed, or their lives are upended from unrest and other things that are going on. And so there's a lot of, hopefully, compassion that is coming through, and I see that. So I feel that's a big piece of it too. So
I agree. So we have somebody that's asked us to circle back to the how would you remove yourself from a toxic work environment? Maybe just a couple quick thoughts on for anyone who might be trying to exit a situation like that, and how they do it best for them.
Yeah. First, if you're in the middle of that, my heart goes out to you, because those are tough situations. And I've been in them, and I've dealt with them in many different ways and flavors. And it's not easy. There's a lot of emotional labor that goes along with that kind of stuff, however you're dealing with it. And so I think my biggest takeaway from the times in my life where I've been in the middle of something like that is that, going it alone, you shouldn't, and you don't have to. I like lean on, depending on what that toxicity is and how it's showing up, there's various and sundry ways, obviously, but I'm hoping there are people that are not toxic and that are supportive and that are with you, and that are supportive of you and what you're doing. And so I feel like lean into those relationships, and also, management and HR are there to support us. A lot of people, I think, sometimes are afraid of saying something because they're worried about, what will happen and all of that. But suffering in situations that are untenable is just really, it's bad. It's bad for your body. It's bad for your all of the things, right? So I think it is a little bit of, Brene Brown about figuring out some, it's hard to say be brave and be vulnerable because these situations are so tough sometimes, but really there's got to be someone in your life that you can reach out to, and people in the community, like people here in the community. There's all kinds of stories, I've learned that when I share a story about something that's happened to me, and I was doing this a lot. I had a talk that was called How to Kick Toxicity and Fear Out of the Workplace. I did that a few years at Ignite in person for Microsoft when I was in the community as an MVP. And I was supposed to have 80 people in the audience, this theater. 500 people showed up. And it still gives me a little pause.
Yes.
Because that means that it's a topic that people are dealing with, and so that's why I've continued to talk about it in presentations like this. So don't be afraid to reach out to people and ask for help, for full stop. And there's different levels and ways of that, but to me that's the first step of getting out of a toxic environment. So yeah.
Very true. Oh, lots of everything going on in the chat. People are agreeing with what you're saying. Beat says that the work from home induced changes by COVID made the segregation between work and personal life even harder, and not everyone has been able to be able to rise to that challenge or manage it. And sometimes there's just a feeling of being on duty 24/7.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, I definitely, I feel that beat as well. Like I definitely, I work more hours than I did. I know that because I can see by my calendar. Like I, get up and it's chock full of meetings. And that's where I instituted that 05 and 010, because I was like, I need a passing period, y'all. I can't do this, Yeah, I feel like that we talked about grace. The person that you need to give the most grace to is yourself. And that means taking care of yourself and having boundaries and being able to say no and to turn off work and to go walk into the other room or to go outside, to have a hydration break. All of those things are super important. And being able to, do things like delay delivery on Outlook emails at night, and just taking time for yourself and your family and the things that you love to do. Because, like sitting in a chair for 8 hours or 12 hours a day is not good for anyone, So it is I think it's a shift in mindset of having to just be more mindful about all of those things. Because if not, you'll just sit here all day long. And that's not what any of us were meant to do.
No.
Yeah, I do feel the being on duty 24/7 as well. So
understand. Yeah. All right, let's take a look. Oh, Sean recommends turning off the notifications on your phone. And as something that he's been implementing is when it's a brand new thing that he's been doing, is turning off those notifications on his phone when he's off, and it's set him free. It has set him free. So Yeah, lots of great feedback in the comments. Everybody's helping each other out with their tips and tricks and how they can manage their time and set their boundaries so that they have self-care in their day as well as their productivity with their work.
Yeah, no, I think that's so important. And and sometimes it's all of these like little things that make such a huge difference. I mean, how like one word or sentence, or even a look or a song or a line in a book or something you see, like shifts your the way you are. And it's true about these little teeny items of like literally, like I have notifications that are like, get up and take a walk. I finally did it. And here's the other thing. I'm not going to play it for you, but I downloaded I love Star Wars. I love the movie Jaws. I love all kinds of different things. The things that I love, I've downloaded those as ringtones, and I've made it so that it's fun. So when I'm supposed to start fasting, because I like the intermittent fasting thing, Chewbacca roars. Okay. And when it's 5 o'clock and I should be kind of trying to wind down my day, Roy Schneider from Jaws says, "We're going to need a bigger boat. We're going to need a bigger boat." And it's stuff that entertains me and it makes me laugh. And it also gets my attention because it's not just a ring or whatever. And so it's like these little trickery, fun things, you know what I mean, that you kind of do to, I don't know, break it up, and make it not so, maybe monotonous, So,
Yep.
and I'll tell you about my glasses.
Okay, good, because that was going to be our last comment. Is
Yes, these are
oh, do that again.
Okay, yeah. So it's Pair eyewear, and I got them last year. I love them. It's like the ability to accessorize from here up, right? But yeah, you can change the frame. So like in here, like here's some fabulous sunglasses. PAIR eyewear. They're a couple of friends out of Brooklyn who started the company, and it's fun. And they started it for kids because kids get made fun of, with glasses, and so they wanted to make them fun. And who else likes fun? Adults. So
That's right.
there you go. So
that is perfect, Heather. That was like magic for me and very enjoyable. So thank you for the show and tell.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for being a part of this year's DynamicsCon. This session by far has filled my heart and given me great ideas to live life fuller and more compassionately to my fellow man. So thank you.
Thank you, Denise. I really appreciate it. And Molly, Liz, Jonathan, everybody, just like so wonderful. You all are such great community leaders. And Denise, thank you. It's great to talk with you. And everybody, thanks, and have a great rest of your conference and event. And please reach out to me all the ways. Happy to chat. Happy to bring you into the community even more and introduce you to new things as well. So thanks so much, everybody. And community rocks, and have a good day. So.
Thank you so much.
All right. Cheers. Thanks, everybody. Bye.